You know, when you think about it, Jesus really was a pretty amazing guy. I mean, he didn't just walk around giving inspirational speeches. He was out there performing miracles that would make anyone's jaw drop. Let's take a little journey through 10 of those incredible moments, shall we? Buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. First up, we have the miracle of turning water into wine. Picture this: a wedding party in a small town, everyone's having a blast, dancing around, and then, uh-oh, they've run out of wine. Panic sets in. The bride's family is sweating bullets, and just when it seems like the party is about to go dry, Jesus steps in. He tells the servants to fill some jars with water, and before you know it, he's transformed that boring old H2O into the finest wine you could ever taste. I mean, talk about a party trick. Who needs a bartender when you have Jesus? Next, let's hop over to the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus calms a raging storm. The disciples are freaking out, thinking they're about to sink, and there's Jesus just chilling in the boat, taking a nap. Isn't that classic? They wake him up all panicked, and he's like, "Why are you so afraid?" Then he simply tells the wind and waves to chill out, and boom, instant calm. You can almost hear the waves sighing in relief. It's like watching a superhero take control of chaos with just a few words. Now let's talk about that time he fed 5,000 people with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Can you imagine? You're at a massive picnic and suddenly someone realizes there's not enough food. But Jesus, with his magical touch, takes that tiny amount of food, blesses it, and starts handing it out. Everyone eats until they're full, and there are even leftovers. I mean, if that's not a miracle, I don't know what is. That's like the ultimate potluck experience. Who wouldn't want Jesus on their catering team? Then there's the moment when he walks on water. Just imagine the scene. The disciples are out on a boat, struggling against the waves, and suddenly they see this figure walking towards them on the water. They're thinking, is it a ghost? But nope, it's Jesus, just strolling along like it's a sunny day at the beach. And Peter, bless his heart, decides to join him. He steps out of the boat, and for a moment he's walking on water too. But then he gets scared and starts to sink. Jesus grabs him and says, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" It's such a powerful moment. It's like a lesson in trust wrapped in a miraculous experience. Now let's not forget about the time he healed a blind man. Picture this. The man has been blind since birth, and he's sitting by the roadside begging. Jesus comes along, makes some mud with his saliva, and puts it on the man's eyes. Then he tells him to wash it off in a nearby pool. The man does, and suddenly, boom, he can see. Can you imagine the joy? The world goes from a dark blur to vibrant colors in an instant. It's like the ultimate upgrade from a black and white TV to full-on color. And speaking of healing, let's talk about the woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. She had tried everything, seen every doctor, but nothing worked. Then she hears about Jesus and thinks, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be healed. So, she sneaks through the crowd, reaches out and touches his cloak. Instantly, she's healed. And Jesus, sensing that power had gone out from him, turns around and says, "Who touched me?" It's such a beautiful moment of recognition and healing. It's like he's saying, you matter. Your faith matters. Now let's jump to the story of Lazarus. This one is a real tearjerker. Lazarus has been dead for 4 days, and everyone is mourning. Jesus shows up, and people are like, if you had been here earlier, he wouldn't have died. But then he goes to the tomb and says, "Lazarus, come out." And guess what? Lazarus walks out, still wrapped in his grave clothes. It's the ultimate comeback story. You can almost hear the gasps from the crowd. It's a reminder that no situation is too hopeless for a miracle. And how about the time Jesus healed a paralyzed man? Imagine this guy lying on a mat, unable to move. His friends, determined to get him to Jesus, climb up on the roof, make a hole, and lower him down right in front of Jesus. Talk about dedication. Jesus looks at the man, sees their faith, and says, "Take heart, son, your sins are forgiven." Then he tells him to get up and walk. Can you picture the joy on everyone's faces? It's like a scene from a feel-good movie where the underdog finally wins. Now, let's not forget the miracle of the 10 lepers. Jesus encounters 10 men suffering from leprosy, and they cry out to him for help. He tells them to go show themselves to the priests, and as they go, they realize they've been healed. But wait, only one of them comes back to thank Jesus. It's a poignant reminder about gratitude, isn't it? Sometimes we get so caught up in our blessings that we forget to say thank you. Finally, we wrap up with the resurrection itself. After being crucified, Jesus rises from the dead. It's the ultimate miracle, the climax of his story. He appears to his disciples, showing them his wounds, and they can hardly believe their eyes. It's a message of hope, of new beginnings, and of life conquering death. So, there you have it. 10 miracles that not only changed lives back then, but continue to inspire us today. Jesus didn't just perform these miracles, he taught us about love, faith, and the incredible power of believing in something greater than ourselves. Now that's a legacy worth celebrating.